Hi everybody, welcome to Beyond the Lines. My name is Sarah, I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten, and today I'm finally finishing my current page in the Outlander coloring book. It is done. I was complaining quite a bit while I was coloring those drawers because it's just hideous, or I didn't like that part. But the page is done, and you can see what I did there, and maybe get an idea on some color combos if you like. So enjoy. Alrighty, time to finish up this page, or get as far as possible. So I'm going to continue with these beams here. I do have the pencils that I used on the shelves in the last video. It's actually been a couple of weeks since I worked on this page, so maybe I'm not getting as sick and tired of all the details that are in here. Let's start with the dark one, shall we? It's just making things a little faster. The light comes from the lower left, so I'm shading towards the upper right. And since those beams are standing out in front of those shelves, so they are up front and those shelves are way in the back, I'm maybe going to go a little bit lighter on shading, just to create more depth and to create the illusion of those beams here being in front of those shelves and everything that is in it. So that is why I'm going to go a little lighter on shading here. Just going over things. It's a little quicker, like I always say, it's a little quicker to shade on top of, say, a watercolor or neocolor, crayons, or maybe even Inktense pencils. It's always a little faster. That's why I actually like having an underpainting, because I don't have to take care of all of those nooks and crannies, those white little spots that come with paper and having colored pencil on top. Now this paper is rather smooth, but still I would have to work quite a bit on it to make sure that you can't see the white. And by having an underpainting with a water-soluble medium or maybe markers, you can easily get around that, you know. I'm actually looking forward to the next page, because I had said I'm having a different kind of a plan for that page, using a different kind of medium that I haven't used for quite a while in coloring books, it being this Outlander coloring book or any other coloring book that I own. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. Let me give you a hint, it's going to be quite painterly. That's all you get as a tease, I'm sorry. But first I gotta complete this page here. Also, at the point of filming, it's end of October. It's actually the last week of October, and in November the 30-day coloring challenge is coming up, and I'm thinking I want to participate this time around. I hope I can manage. I haven't decided on what book I'm going to take, so I'm not stamping something and then coloring it, but I'm using coloring books for that challenge. And I haven't really decided which book I'm gonna take. Last time around, I think I took a Hannah Carlson book, and just had some of those pages with the smaller objects. I think I had seasons, and I did a couple of those autumn pages, like coloring a mushroom on one day and coloring something else on another day. But I haven't yet decided what I'm gonna do. If I'm maybe gonna work on a double spread in maybe a Kirby Roseanne's book, or if I want to keep with the smaller pages in the Hannah Carlson books, so where there's smaller objects. I haven't decided yet. But you can see that on Instagram. I think by this time when this video airs, the coloring challenge is already running, or maybe over. I don't remember. So you can check on my Instagram. By the way, here on these bigger beams, I'm using my darker pencil to emphasize some of these lines here, some of the wood grain. I don't bother with the smaller sections, but these bigger sections, I think they benefit from that, and I need to sharpen my pencils. Also, at this point, by the way, I haven't yet decided what I want to do with the table down here. Oh, you can see this table down here. I haven't decided yet. I'm not all that sure. I think I will leave it to last. I mean, last step with the colored pencils, and see what I want to do. And then after I colored the table, I will just end up with a little bit of gel pen here and there. For example, I plan to have a little bit of white gel pen here around this candle. But gel pens are always the last step for me when it comes to coloring. So by then I will have decided what I want to do with the table. Alrighty, right beam done. Whoop whoop. Onto the left beam. Going about it just like before. And you see I'm at this point working rather quickly, which is because of the underpainting. I can go a little less loose with my colored pencil coloring. And also I kind of want to have this page done, honestly. I did all the things I found exciting, but now I have to bring the page together, and all these drawers here, coloring those is not really exciting for me, I have to say. So on pages like this with images like that, I'm having a little bit of skin here that doesn't belong. It's sometimes more work than fun, if you know what I mean. Because I just have to get on with it and get it finished. But it's not as exciting as coloring all those tiny little bobs and stuff that were in the shelf. I wonder if you have the same thing with certain objects on pages where you're just like, this is work now. This is not only fun, it's work. Like real work to get things completed. But I'm a little weird, if you haven't noticed. I'm quite obsessive with finishing my pages. I don't have a lot of work in progress pages. I think I have 2 that I started. I think they were both at the hospital, so I don't remember exactly. I do have a couple of work in progress in the, let me see, I think it is Anamorphia. from Kirby Roseanne's, where I just went and started coloring or choosing colors for the background and started coloring those. But I haven't really got a lot of work in progress pages where I forgot to color that bit. Just realized. Where I give up like halfway through. I think it's just 1 or 2 pages. And again, that was hospital time. So I'm quite disciplined in finishing pages, even if I'm not really feeling like I want to, because some things are just not that interesting for me to color on a page. Still, I move forward with it and go ahead and color just to have it done. Because for whatever reason, it's really weird in my mind knowing that I have unfinished pages. It makes me feel uneasy. Weird, right? But I guess that's just my quirky little brain. And I tend to not buy any new books if I know that I have a lot of pages that are work in progress, or where I have a lot of books where there's like very many, well, you could even say a plethora of empty pages where I haven't worked on anything yet, where I can still be very creative and color. If I do have that, which is currently the case, I don't feel like buying new books. I mean, there's wonderful new books out there, very gorgeous artwork, but I just don't allow myself to buy any new ones, because it's like, hey, Sarah, you've got a huge stash of coloring books. Work on those first before you spend more money on other coloring books. It's just something that I do. So, and I find it quite satisfying, I have to say, to have a book completed. I mean, it's usually not a week that it takes me to finish a book. It's more like years, which is totally fine. I mean, spending years with a book that you really like, I think it's a wonderful thing. I don't even remember when I bought this book. I think 2016, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember. But this book here has been with me for a while, and I've colored quite a couple of pages, but still I'm not even close to being done. There's like tons and tons of pages in here that want to be colored. And I can tell you it's going to be so satisfying and such a feeling of accomplishment once I'm done with this book and I've colored every page in it. So I'm actually looking forward to that today. So these are the beams done. Now I want to switch up things for a second. I want to have those labels colored first. Not really feeling like I want to go with these brown pencils that I just used. Gotta switch it up once in a while. So just using goldenrod. That's the pencil that I'm using for my details here for shading. But I need to sharpen my pencil, because this is what you do. And I'm also thinking about having those knobs here maybe being brass or something, so that would be a thing for the gel pens later on. So that's something. So these parts here are way more lit up because, again, back here at the shelf there's just a lot of dark because they're way further back. Those drawers here are way more in the foreground, and since the light comes from the lower left, they get hit by way more photons. And that means I don't have to shade as darkly as I would up here. Just can have a lighter shade and a lighter touch. There's the spine of the book. So gotta turn it a bit. So there's another label back here. There's one here. At this point I really have to make myself not rush, because I feel the urge to finish this page quickly. But I won't be happy with the page if I rush too much. I mean, I can work quickly, that's totally fine. But rushing something is a different kind of a story, and I don't want to do that. Because I want to be quite content with what I do with this page in the end and not look at it later saying, ugh, you fucked up there because you didn't want to spend time on something. And again, the book spine. There we go. So that would be the golden rod. I'm also thinking about using that very dark brown here on the table. So many possibilities, but one possibility for me is to activate my vlogging camera for you guys who are also watching my Choco Clock vlogs. So you probably have seen snippets of this on that show already, because I'm kind of teasing things here. Okay, now onto this longer board. Let's start with the darker bits. So I think this upper part here casts a tiny little shadow on this section that is a little further back. So I'm thinking this one here is standing out. Hence it casts a shadow onto the lower part here. I was also thinking maybe I should shade those drawers with watercolor, because I feel like it's a little quicker, but I think it wouldn't have fitted well, just style-wise, you know. I think I would have missed the colored pencil grainy look then, so I'm not gonna go for it, because faster is not always better. I think it would have looked a little weird, like that part then would have stood out instead of blending into the whole scenery style-wise, or when I'm talking about media that I'm using or supplies I'm using. So yeah, just go the slower way. Okay, now I'm gonna shade a little softer with the same dark brown up here, really being even softer with my touch than before. And I'm gonna use more of this, what it's called, beige sienna, on this upper part, just to make it stand out a bit more. So I'm gonna blend quite a bit with my beige sienna. I might use a little more here, just to have a little bit of a shadow on the right hand side of that plant, whatever it is. It looks like thistle almost, or like a mistletoe even, I don't know. But I think it casts a shadow onto the wood, so I'm using a bit more of a darker shade there. Got a blend here. There we go. Onto the drawers. This is gonna be such a grind. Well. So, let me think. So I want these sections here, not the drawers themselves, but the sections around them be a little lighter. Maybe have the drawers a little darker. So I'm just gonna start with a bit of a dark brown, going lighter the more I go to the left. It's really not that much pigment that I'm using here, because again, here's the light source, so there's hardly any shadow or point where there's a lot of contrast, but I still want to have a tiny bit of a darker shade. And up down here there's hardly any, because it is super light, so I'm just very lightly touching up on the paper. Then I go in with my lighter pencil, and I'm just going to blend this out. Where was I? Was I here already? Yeah. I'm sitting at an angle where I'm trying not to have my head in the frame, so I'm leaning back quite a bit, and that gives me a tiny little sheen or glare on the paper. And I just didn't see where I already had blended out something. So a weird feeling, let me tell you. Okay, lowest section here. And now onto the horizontal beams. It's pretty much the same thing. I think they stand out. They're just a little more in front of things than those drawers themselves. So they don't line up perfectly with the drawers. So I'm giving them the same treatment as I did those smaller wood sections here just a minute ago. Very light touch, just a little bit of the dark brown. A little more towards the right hand side, especially where that table casts a shadow. And then blending it out with the lighter pencil. And I'm not blending it out super smoothly for another reason. I still want this to look like wood, and wood is kind of patchy or grainy. Sometimes, depending on what kind of wood you're having on your furniture, but I think, especially back in the olden days, it just well, maybe wasn't as smooth as a high gloss IKEA shelf, you know? So I'm going in with my dark pencil now, shading those drawers. Then I want some of them to look really old, worn, torn, just having like a patina on them almost. So I'm not necessarily shading them all the same. Also, I think that makes for a little more interest and doesn't make it too bland in comparison to the very busy upper section. It's still a little more calm and quiet, not as busy and loud as the top of that shelf, but I think if I would go too smooth on these drawers here, it could look weird maybe. Like it's almost two sections, two pictures, two different kinds of things, and I wanna have them a little more well blended or together, like fitting, you know? So that's why I'm being a little more maybe not as samey with the way I'm shading my drawers here. So for example, there's a little bit of a shadow that yarn tail is casting. And otherwise I'm just gonna shade it from the lower part of the drawer. Because I want this shadow here to stand out, so I don't want to shade on the upper part of that particular drawer. So I'm just going like this. I will use my lighter pencil to blend things later on. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just a tiny bit shaded down here. Really just a smidge. That's it. So here I go, or I'm entering the part that is very light, because this is where the light source is. So I'm just going really soft with my dark pencil here. I'm not gonna add any more. Just going to have a bit more of that lighter beige sienna. And the next one I will do pretty much the same for these next two drawers in that row. Then I will switch up pencils and go for the light shade first before I move on to the second row. 'Cause sometimes I feel it's a little easier to get your values right if you switch back and forth between certain colors. So, okay. Because you get kind of blind almost, if you know what I mean, when you color like a whole big section with just one shade and then come back and blend everything out. I think it's a little easier sometimes just to go section by section. I wonder if you feel the same way, if you have the same kind of experience, or for your preference maybe it's the better word to use. Let me know in the comment section below if you recognize yourself with what I'm saying here, if you feel the same way. I'm just blending, 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 and even more blending. And then I'm gonna pull some of that sienna towards the middle, just to have a soft, or not soft, but softer kind of look to this, and not have the the harsh black, dark brown pencil, and then only the watercolor underpainting. It's not what I want to go for. want more of a gradient look almost. Okay. I'm thinking about, ooh, sorry if there was a highlight there, but the sun is shining, it's really nice out, and somebody just opened their car door and it happens to reflect the sun quite a bit. What I was wanting to say while I got interrupted and surprised by that light, thinking about adding maybe a little bit of gray or indigo blue here, just to maybe make it a little less monochrome. It's almost monochrome because it's just different shades of one color pretty much. So just to add a little bit of oomph, I think I want to have a little bit of indigo. Just here and there. And with a very, very light touch. Something like that. You don't need a lot. This was a little too much for my personal taste. Was a little too heavy-handed. But maybe I can pull this out a little more. Yeah, that's more like it. But it just adds a little of the more worn or old, ancient patina kind of look. I think that's just enough to add a little bit of interest to those drawers, because again it looks all samey, and I'm not a big fan of that. I want them to look very similar and calm down the page quite a bit in comparison to those very eclectic kind of medicine bottles and such on the upper part of the shelf. And the upper part of the shelf is so busy, but still I want a little bit of interest, you know. Okay, so let's go with my light beige sienna again. Something like that. And you see I'm getting way lighter here in comparison to the drawers on the right hand side, and I think that just makes for a nice way of showing, okay, this is where the light source is. With this one I'm adding the indigo on top, like the top section of the drawer. And it's on to the next one. I want these drawers to end so badly. It's like 2 more rows, like 1.5, because this is only half a section here. But I really want to be done with them, or at least the colored pencil part, you know? I wouldn't mind being at the gel pen stage with the drawers, but this is just so repetitive. I guess another thought is maybe I wouldn't mind so much, would I have like a podcast on or something, being distracted from the repetitiveness, but recording a video and having or wanting to talk about things that I'm doing here and having to say the same thing over and over again is not really exciting, neither for you nor for me. So I guess that's why I'm a little me with this part of the page. But you know, once in a while that happens. I'm pretty sure you had that happen to you too at one page or another in whatever kind of coloring book. But sometimes it's just way more obvious. Sometimes I don't realize it actually, but once in a while it's quite obvious that I'm over it, like with a certain part. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Hui. Pooh. So, first row is done. I'm gonna take a pee break and then I'm gonna color the other 2 rows. I'm back in a sec. All right, second row. So let me sharpen that dark brown pencil again. This is, by the way, it's called dark brown. Haha. So going for the second row and the third row all in one, I think, because it's just 1.5 rows. I'm gonna have this one be a little darker here because I think the box is casting a shadow. I just there's 2 drawers where there's no label. I just realized. Didn't pay attention. Again, breaking up the patterns by the way I put in that dark pencil, like how much of the drawer I work on with my dark brown pencil, and also where I do put the pigment. Let's go a little darker here because I have this divider. We colored a little darker. Have just a little bit of dark brown up here, not as much. And then I'm moving on to the lighter sections already, because again, this is where the light comes from. So I'm just going in with a darker pencil up here, just a smidge down here. There's hardly any dark brown on these drawers here, because we're getting lower and lower on the shelf, so there's again way more light, as I think it comes from the lower left. So just with the softest touch, just a bit of dark brown, not too much. And that one here on the spine is a little difficult to color. So I'm mainly gonna use my, what was it called? Beige sienna? Yeah, beige sienna pencil on that section here. On to the final row. There's hardly gonna be any dark pencil on these parts here. Moving forward with my beige pencil, blending things again and having a bit of a gradient look from the watercolor background to the dark brown pencil. So I'm extending my coverage of beige sienna on top of the watercolor pencil and pulling that pigment a bit more across those drawers, just to have a little bit of a softer look here. Adding a little bit of a shadow here on top of the label. Hoppala. Sorry. On to the next. Gotta start turning my page already. Where was I? Here. That's the trouble with light pencils. And that tiny little bit of a drawer up here, blending, blending, blending. And the final row. Okay. Gosh, I'm almost done with that hideous part of the page. Yoo-hoo! I can't believe it. I know it seems like I'm complaining a lot today, but sometimes, again, there's just parts of a page that you are maybe not that fond of, and this is definitely one for me. But I can't not color it, you know. Should sharpen my pencil again. A little more on top here. And then the final drawer. Oh gosh. Only need to add a little bit of indigo after that, and then those goddamn drawers are done. Oh, I feel so accomplished. Okay. Just going again with the lightest touch. Just want to have a tiny little bit of that bluish tint, not too much though. This one I wanted maybe on top a bit. And on this corner here. That one is gonna just have a little bit on the corner. This one goes all the way on the right. And that one here is just a little bit on top. final row. Da 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 da. And the final bit, yippee. Alrighto. Okay, haha, da 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 da. Now, the box. I'm choosing from the pencils that I used in previous videos. What are you? I think I like the artichoke color. Definitely want the goldenrod again. That's the one I used on the labels, and I'm looking for my ginger pencil because I think that would be a lovely light yellow-ish. I've got to find you. Oh, I think there you are. Yeah, ginger. So I want to use these for the box. Starting with my darker goldenrod in the inner part, because the light is blocked by that side of the box. So I can go a little darker in here. I'm gonna use that goldenrod for the wood grain in a minute. I wanna have a bit of the artichoke layered on top. I'm gonna blend out that section with my ginger. Probably gonna add a dark brown or a gray maybe. Let's see. Let's go with 90% French gray. Just to darken this up down here a bit. Blending this out with my artichoke, a little bit of the goldenrod on top. Then I'm going over those lines for the wood grain with my goldenrod. Just want to separate that inner part of the box a little, because again, it's where the shadows are cast. Not really happy yet. Might add a little bit of the espresso pencil in a minute, but I want to work on that section here first. So ooh. So I'm making this just look a little more worn. Adding my ginger for these lighter sections, and then adding just a tiny bit of gray here on the edges where there's maybe a little more wear and tear and such on the box. Blending this out with my goldenrod. Edges of papers are difficult sometimes. Okay, adding a bit of that pencil here to the wood grain. Then I'm going to bring in my espresso, but very, very softly. Because it has more of brownish tint, though the French gray is a warm gray, and I should sharpen my pencil. It's not warm enough for me, I guess, so I just prefer a little bit of that espresso pigment here. Something like that. Now onto the final part. Yoo-hoo! The table. And after that I'm just gonna, add a little bit of gel pen. I'm just thinking, where's my espresso pencil? I think I want a little bit of a more prominent shadow here, so I'm just adding a little bit of espresso. Now, I think it would be really cool to have a dark table. I'm thinking, do I want to use my markers? Actually, not really. Think, since this is in the foreground and the marker should just be for the background there, I think I don't want to add that, but I need a very dark brown. So I'm gonna take the espresso, the dark brown, and maybe indigo and black. If I can find my black pencil, I think I used it. Yeah, there it is. Just going to work on that here. Do I? Yeah, why not? So I'm just going to go in with a solid layer of the dark brown pencil first. It's going to be a little tedious to go around that flower, But I think it would be even more tedious if I would have used a marker here as an underpainting. So I think I can finish this page today. Whoop whoop. It certainly looks like it. Which would be awesome, because that means I can move on to the next page with a different kind of supply. Again, one that I haven't used in a long time in coloring books. And I can do something different. It has a totally different style of line work, so it's going to be quite fresh. But first things first, I have to complete this page here and get my table all nice and colored. Okay, on to the espresso pencil. This is what I meant earlier when I talked about the underpainting. I do have a lot of white speckles here, which I wouldn't have had would I have had an underpainting there. It would have been way easier just to get a solid number of layers, not having to take care of these white speckles, but it is what it is. I actually lost a bit of color there. Which one did I use? Probably this very light purple. Then again, it's dark in the room, so there's not a lot of contrast going on, I guess, at least not in that section of the scenario. Okay, that's the brown. Now as the next step I'm going to take black. Yes, not the indigo first. I'm gonna take the black and have a little bit of a clean up darker thing here going on. So I'm coloring into different directions just to get rid of as many of these white speckles here as possible. And I'm going to use the indigo pencil later for a bit of deep shadow slash detail. There's still gonna be those white nooks and crannies. They're still gonna be quite visible, but I'm trying my best to get everything quite smooth. To concentrate a bit here, not to color over the flowers, so I'm sorry for not saying that much. I'm almost done. And then I can bring in my indigo pencil. And that's the doorbell. Okay, so that was my neighbor, but now it's back to coloring. Okay, I'm just gonna darken up the parts here to the right, because again there's a shadow cast, though be it a little bit of a smaller shadow, not as significant, but still there is a shadow. Now I'm going in with my indigo and intensifying these shadows here. See how much richer it looks with just a tiny little bit of a different shade. It's I really love that. It makes such a difference. A little bit of shadow here around that paper, or yeah, I think it's paper. Just adding that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of that indigo here. Towards the left-hand side of the table. And I lost one of those flower petals there. But I'm already thinking of maybe going on top with a bit of gel pen, because that purple is quite lost. Let's see if I can brighten this up. If not, again, I'm just going to go in with a little bit of gel pen. I think I should do that anyways, maybe having like a white dot here in the center of those flowers. First, a little bit of indigo. So at this point I would actually go and grab my gel pens. So I'm gonna be second in magic editing second. Here we go. White gel pen is in my drawer. So I'm just going top to bottom now and see where I want to add something. So I want to add a bit to those crystals here, for example, just to make it a bit more sparkly. I have white pencil underneath it, so it's quite light already. I'm actually not gonna add anything here to that white branch. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I like that almost light grayish look. There's nothing in this shelf, nothing here, but here on the candle. That nothing white here. I'm gonna disregard the lower part for now because I don't want to smudge anything, but I do have a bit of wink of Stella in glaze orange. I think I want to add some sparkle here and there where it fits my colors. Like for example on that lock here, just on the right hand side. Oh, there's another lock. I have to be careful not smudging something, because I don't want that. That's fine for me with the wink. And then I want to add a little bit of a silver up here to that stone or crystal. Just a little bit of a sparkle. And also around here on that stone, just a very tiny little bit of a shimmer. It's more shimmer than a glitter actually. There we go. Let's see, the rest of the shelf is fine. Maybe I see something. I have a pink one here. Just wanna add a bit on top of those berries. Just a smidge. Now I can move on to the knobs here on the drawers. So I'm just going in for the outer part. I could actually dual color that, because I want the inside here to be black, so I can put a little bit of black in the center. Have the outside be, I think it's brass or golden color. Hoppala. Sorry about that. Just a little bit of black in the center makes quite the difference, I think. The last thing that I'm gonna take care of are those flowers here on the table. I'm gonna add a little bit of gel pen to those. But after that, I think I'm done. Finally, it took me long enough to complete this page. There we go. And now on to those little flowers down here. Oh, I just saw something. I do have this rather more of a hot pink gel pen, so I think that fits better with those berries here. So I'm gonna use that one and the lighter one. Let's see what the purple looks like. Yeah, I'm gonna use the purple gel pen here on those flowers together with the white. So I'm just going on top of those tiny buds here. Also that one petal. And when you have too much of colored pencil on your page, the gel pen doesn't get a grip so much, so it's a little more difficult to put down the pigment. Like here, for example, I'm having trouble. Not good, not what I want. And maybe that pencil's also just empty. I'm gonna get my other gel pens. Again, magic of editing. See if this works a little better. Not really. It's really the pencil that is just so slippery. That's all of those, and now on a couple of flower buds I'm just going to add a little bit of white in the center. Well, the others are not open yet, but I just saw I need bit more of my indigo to have a bit of a shadow underneath this petal here. That's enough already, and that pretty much finishes my page, I think. Did I forget anything? Let me check. No, it doesn't look like I forgot something, so ta-da, finally, this is done. I hope you enjoyed watching along. If you have comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I will get back to you as quickly as I can. And next week I'm gonna start this page. You can see already it looks totally different from the art style. So I'm going to make it look very different with the supplies that I'm gonna use. If you want to see the blog post, getting information of all the pencils and pens that I used on today's video, just hop on over to my webpage. The link is in the description box below. The most recent blog post is for this page, where you can just type in the name of the video into the search bar and you will be redirected to the blog post in case you watch this video later and not right away when it is released. And again, thank you very much for watching. Keep on coloring. It's a lovely thing, I think. Artwork is awesome, so enjoy it. Take good care, have fun, and I'm gonna see you very, very soon, aka next Thursday, on this show here. So take good care, have fun, bye bye.